You're in the right spot for today's webinar, Website Trends. I am joined today by our amazing speaker today, Stephen Johnson. My name is Jeffrey Brown, and Stephen's going to be actually diving into the 2023 Website Trend Report as well. So we're going to be diving into that in just a moment. But one, want to say thank you for all of you being here, taking time out of your day to attend our webinar. Two, let us know your name, where you're from, and also what you're most excited about learning in today's webinar. And number three, if you have any questions, please utilize the Q&A box. Again, my name is Jeffrey. I'm going to be your host today. And I'm going to actually stop speaking, turn it away from me, and turn it over to our amazing speaker today, Stephen Johnson. Thank you so much for speaking on our webinar today. And again, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Stephen Johnston, and it is a pleasure to be able to walk through this webinar with you today. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to be talking about website trends, and you might be asking, who is this webinar for, and what should I expect? Well, this webinar is for everyone, anyone who owns a website, whether you already have security in place or not. It's still good to be on top of the current trends on what to expect as far as attacks that could potentially be hitting your site. So yeah, you're definitely in the right place to get more information on this. So yes, welcome, and let's get to it. So our 2023 hacked website and malware threat report takes a close look at our logs to bring you the latest trends in website infections and malware activity. It highlights the tactics, techniques, and procedures that our malware research and remediation teams at Sucuri, along with GoDaddy InfoSec, have observed throughout the year. The report sheds light on which content management systems, or CMS, were used and were most impacted by these compromises based on our scan data. We also analyze the types of malware families that show up at the point of infection. For example, in 2023, we found that 39.1% of all CMS applications were outdated at the time of infection. A CMS was considered outdated if it hadn't been updated to the latest security releases when our teams actually performed the remediation. Additionally, 13.97% of compromised websites had at least one vulnerable component when we intervened. Keep in mind, the data in this report reflects the specific environments that our malware cleanup tool and scanners inspected, both remotely and on the server side. It doesn't present the entire internet, but it gives us valuable insights into significant trends in the web security landscape. So let's go over an outdated software tip. Ensure all website software, including core, CMS, plugins, themes, and other third-party components, are regularly updated with the latest security patches. Regular updates are crucial to protect against attacks that exploit known vulnerabilities. You can leverage a web application firewall, such as one that Sucuri provides, to virtually patch known vulnerabilities and help prevent exploits if you are unable to apply patches on a regular basis. So something to keep in mind. So some key takeaways from our report. We took a closer look at the trends across our user base to pinpoint the most common threats and types of malware that our clients face. One of the key findings was that website backdoors remain a popular tool for attackers. 49.21% of compromised websites had at least one backdoor at the time of infection. Another significant trend we saw is with database malware. The websites infected with this type of malware, 55% had at least one malicious admin user. That's a big one. This allows attackers to quickly regain access and control over the website, even after the initial infection has been detected. So these are just a few of the important insights we've gathered from our report, and you can see them all here. We're going to be going through through most of these, but just to kind of point out a few. 4.18% of the sites had at least one fake plugin, so you should be mindful of what's installed. And then 2.14% of compromised websites had at least one malicious cron job. And if you're not familiar with a cron job, essentially it is just a task scheduler on any Linux or Unix-based operating system. So a lot of times these attackers are using your own system to compromise itself on an automated basis without you knowing. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for as well. So let's move on to the top detected malware. This year, our team gathered and analyzed data from malware signatures detected during remote scans, incident responses, and remediation efforts to uncover the most common threats our clients faced in 2023. The bar chart here shows the frequency of different malware families we encountered while cleaning up hacked websites throughout the year. It's worth noting that it's common for our teams to find multiple types of malware on a single compromised site. So the percentages of these malware families often overlap. Now, let's dive into the top 3 malware families: backdoors, malware, and spam, starting with backdoors. So 49.21% of compromised websites were found to have at least one backdoor at the time of infection. Backdoors are sneaky tools used by attackers to bypass normal authentication, giving them ongoing access to a site's backend long after the initial breach. Essentially, the server thinks they're supposed to be there. So this allows them to reinfect the website even if the original malware has been removed. One of the biggest challenges with backdoors is detecting them, as they come in many forms and can be programmed to carry out various tasks within a compromised site or server. The most common type we see is remote code execution, or RCE backdoors. These are popular among attackers because they are simple yet highly effective, allowing them to upload files without the website owner even knowing. So let's go over a backdoor tip here. And this is just reiterating what we just said. Backdoors allow attackers to regain entry into the system long after the initial breach. The sustained access can lead to repeated data breaches, persistent system damage, and prolonged unauthorized access. Ensuring that all website software and components are up to date and employing an intrusion detection system, such as what Sucuri offers, on your website are vital in detecting and mitigating backdoors. Next, we'll explore some of the most notable malware campaigns we've encountered. You can see them here. 47.97% of the websites we remediated were flagged under the generic malware category. This group includes various types of malicious code, such as JavaScript and PHP scripts, which are often used to redirect visitors to third-party sites, steal login credentials, or even trigger drive-by downloads. Throughout 2023, Sucuri's SiteCheck remote scans identified several significant malware campaigns. Now we're going to take a closer look at the top 3, starting with Japanese SEO spam. I'm sure several of you have already seen this type of attack, mainly when searching for your websites on Google. So for over 9 years, Japanese SEO spam has been one of the most common black hat SEO infections our malware team encounters. This type of malware creates thousands of doorway gates in Japanese on compromised websites. These pages then redirect users to counterfeit sites selling fake versions of well-known brands and other products. In 2023 alone, Japanese SEO spam was the most widespread form of spam we dealt with, appearing on over 10% of the websites we remediated. Additionally, our SiteCheck's remote scanner detected another 157,000 websites infected with this type of spam. So yeah, this is a big one. Moving on to the next type of attack, we have SocGhoulish. This is a fake browser update. SocGhoulish malware, also known as fake browser updates, is one of the most common infections we see on hacked websites. This malware uses a JavaScript framework that's been around since at least 2017. Its goal is to deceive users into downloading what they believe is a legitimate browser update, but it's actually a remote access Trojan, what we call a rat. This rat is often the first step toward a ransomware attack. In 2023, SiteCheck detected 143,000 websites with SocGhoulish malware injections. Of those, 19,000 sites were directly loading scripts from known SocGhoulish domains. So this one's pretty prevalent as well. Moving on to the third most prevalent is Balada Injector. This is a persistent threat to WordPress specifically. The Balada Injector is a highly sophisticated malware campaign that specifically targets WordPress sites. It stands out due to its use of obfuscation techniques and its frequent rotation of domain names, which hosts the attacker's malicious scripts. This malware primarily redirects visitors to scam sites, such as fake tech support pages or fraudulent lottery schemes. Since its emergence in 2017, the campaign has infected over 1 million WordPress websites. Balada Injector works by injecting malicious code into the server files and WordPress databases. It continually evolves to exploit both new and existing vulnerabilities. In 2023 alone, Sucuri SiteCheck detected the malware 106,000 times, while our cleanup teams discovered obfuscated Balada Injector scripts on about 135,000 compromised sites. Most of the infections in 2023 were tied to known vulnerabilities that have since been patched. So let's go over our monitoring tips. Website malware can lead to significant operational disruptions, data breaches, and monetary loss. Malware can steal sensitive information, serve ransomware and remote access Trojans, hijack server resources for malicious purposes, and even lock out legitimate users. Website owners must prioritize real-time threat detection systems. Again, Sucuri has this expertise, and website hardening to mitigate the risks associated with malware infections. So let's understand a little more about SEO spam and its impact. In 2023, SEO spam remained a major threat, with 42.22% of websites flagged for at least one form of SEO spam during a remote site check scan. It was also the third most common malware family found on compromised sites, affecting 20.30% of all remediated websites. Our team removed a staggering 4 million spam instances from files and cleaned 430,000 spam entries from compromised databases. SEO spam harms a website's credibility and search engines' rankings by injecting or modifying content to promote unwanted products or services, very similar to the Japanese SEO spam. It not only diminishes the user experience, but can also result in severe penalties from search engines, including the risk of being delisted entirely. So, some SEO spam tips. SEO spam damages a website's credibility and search engine rankings. We just mentioned this by injecting or altering content to promote unsolicited products or services. This not only degrades the user experience, but can also lead to severe penalties from search engines, including potential delisting of the website. And this is big for e-commerce sites, that have their sites delisted from Google. It can severely hinder your progress of your site. So continuous website monitoring and virtual patching against known vulnerabilities are crucial to defend against SEO spam infections. And yes, you guessed it, Sucuri offers this as well. So speaking of e-commerce sites, let's go over e-commerce and malware, which is a rising trend. At the time of remediation, 1.34% of infected websites were found to contain credit card skimmers trying to steal this information. As seen in previous Sucuri threat reports, many of these skimmers are PHP-based and specifically target WordPress and specifically WooCommerce websites. That's a big one. The most commonly detected skimmer was for these WooCommerce form checkouts, and they found on 37.5% of the websites compromised by this e-commerce malware. This is a serious thing. It's named after the file it typically embeds itself into. To defend against skimmer attacks, it's crucial to regularly scan your website. You can use web application firewalls and implement strong payment security measures such as encryption and even tokenization. That'll help a lot. So I know we went over a bunch of things here, a lot of material. So let's kind of go over a summary of everything that was discussed, just so you kind of get the crucial points here. So we talked about SEO spam. This damages credibility and rankings, leading to penalties or delisting by search engines. We discussed malware threats. This can cause operational disruptions, data breaches, ransomware, and monetary loss. Specifically, it steals sensitive information, locks out users, and hijacks server resources. We discussed backdoors. This allows attackers to regain access, causing repeated breaches and persistent damage. We also, however, discussed real-time detection. This is essential for identifying threats and mitigating malware risks, even new ones as they come along. We discussed software updates, keeping CMS such as WordPress, core files, plugins, themes, and components up to date with the latest patches. Even if you have security in place, it's always a good practice to make sure everything is up to date. We discuss web application firewalls, or WAFs. These virtually patch known vulnerabilities and prevent exploits. And we discussed the need for continuous monitoring. This is crucial for defending against SEO spam and other known vulnerabilities. So, Sucuri is here to assist with any of these detection issues, any of these vulnerabilities. Our system covers all this, and it's important to have something in place. But whether you use Sucuri or not, it's a good idea to protect your site against these threats. So I believe that's everything that we had on the agenda today. So if you still have any questions, we'd like to open up the floor for any sort of questions. And I have some of our illustrious team assisting with some of these questions. So feel free to ask away.
Yes, and MJ, you will be getting a replay sent. It will also be on our YouTube page as well under our GoDaddy webinars. And one, thank you, Stephen, for the amazing webinar, dropping some amazing knowledge in here. But yes, everyone, the Q&A box is open. Please feel free to put questions in so we can make sure that your questions are answered as well, or you can put them in the chat box. Thank you, Jen. And I know one question that I did see a little bit earlier was, what is one of the most common types of attacks, whether it's a small business owner on their website or just someone like a regular Joe like me that just has their work computer? What is the most common type of security threat that we faced, and how can we actually prevent that from happening?
We went over a bit of that in the presentation, but I think a common misconception is that site owners think that they are being specifically targeted by these cyber attackers, when really these cyber attackers, they're just throwing this out on the internet and hoping it sticks somewhere. And they do this enough times with enough volume, and eventually your site's going to get hit. So our system prevents and stops these attacks before they even reach the server. One of the main features of this web application firewall is that it actually sits in front of the server. So if you have a server-side firewall, it actually has to wait till the attack touches the server before it can actually respond to it. So with ours, it'll actually stop it before they even know that they're being attacked by this type of malware, SEO spam, even DDoS attacks where they seek to bring down the site by overloading the resources. So, like I said, you won't even know that you're under attack until we send you a report saying, "Hey, we blocked this many attacks, and from these countries, from these IP addresses." So, it's it's good to stay on top of these things, but yeah, I'd have to say, to answer your question directly, probably JavaScript-based attacks are some of the most prevalent.
And to answer the follow-up question there of what you can do, update your websites. That's the biggest one right there, is update your websites. I know you hear about it all the time, but think about it this way. Every time there's an update, they make patch notes, right? And they're telling you that we updated this, we updated that. And they're a little vague about exactly what they updated because, well, really what this is it's a recipe for, hey, there was a vulnerability here. And so I know if you're on this version, something is vulnerable in this area. So as an attacker, I know to target this area. I may not know exactly what the vulnerability is, but I know that I can target here. And so one of the biggest things is just keep your websites up to date. That is going to help you so much against malware. So, yeah, just that's my little 2 cents on it.
That said, I missed a bit at the beginning. So you may have mentioned this: when we sign up and pay for the ultimate protection from GoDaddy, are we protected from this malware?
Yes, everything we presented today would be something that Sucuri protects against. Another thing that would be good to look at is the OWASP top 10 list of vulnerabilities. Any of the direct attacks that are in that list, that's something that we would help you with.
And MJ said, our website's hosted with GoDaddy. What all do we need to add?
The the website security plans that Sucuri offers would work with any hosting platform. One of the benefits of having an external web application firewall is that it is agnostic to the type of server that's in use, or even the CMS tool that's in use, whether it's WordPress or a site coded directly in HTML. Um, our system, since it sits in front of the server, it doesn't really matter whether it's hosted at GoDaddy or anywhere else. You're in good hands with Sucuri's firewall.
Best part though with GoDaddy is that it's all automated, right? Since we're connected with GoDaddy, the setup makes it way easy, and it just automates everything for you. So I don't know what GoDaddy calls their plans. Sorry, I'm a security guy, but they do have website security plans that are GoDaddy branded, but they come through us and automates the setup and helps you out.
Thank you. And okay, I have another personal question. I know this is not about me. Um, how often should we be changing our passwords? I know that's like a very basic question, but as someone, like, when you're dealing with like your bank accounts, when you're dealing with you're logging into your computer, any type of thing, how often as professionals would y'all suggest changing your password?
Ooh, good question. I like that question. So I'm going to be very contrary here. Okay. Um, I would rather see you have a very difficult password that is 20 digits long of nonsense that's hard to guess and that you never change it, versus having a password that's your last name and a number. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm going to tell you, I personally use LastPass. I
Yeah,
couldn't
that's a
tell
good
you
one.
any of my passwords. They're all random strings, to be honest with you. And in fact, I will even show you, I'm going to have it generate a password for me. I don't use this with anything, but this is a sample of one of my passwords. that could be generated, and there's no way I'm going to remember that. But it's all kept in my LastPass, and it takes care of everything for me. 2FA, absolutely. I personally hate 2FA. Can't stand it myself. It's a pain in the butt, but I have it on everything. Um, they say security is balance, right? It's usability versus security. If something is super secure, you're not going to be able to get into it yourself. But you need to find that balance where it's hard enough to keep the people out, but easy enough for you to get in.
Mhm.
So,
I agree. In addition to that, I would say that a pitfall that many people fall into is the act of reusing the same password over and over again on all their logins. So if you use a password manager such as LastPass, or even a lot of browsers have this feature built in nowadays, you can handle all those multiple passwords without having to necessarily remember them all. They're all just managed by your browser or browser plugin.
yeah, and there's a website out there, Have I Been Pawned? That's
Yeah.
PWND, and you can put in your email address, and it'll show you all the breaches that passwords and emails have been taken from. So if your email shows up in any of those breaches, it will let you know. Um, in fact, I just got an email from an old employer from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that my email was breached in one of the attacks that they had. So, yeah. Have I Been Pawned is a fantastic site, but it is not uncommon for a hacker to go, hey, I have this password and username from this website. Let me try that combination on this website here. Let me try that combination on this website over here. So if all of your passwords are Hammer J1, um, then that's going to cause some trouble, right? Because if they got one of your passwords from a breach, now they have access to your bank password or whatever other password it is. So that's why I use LastPass to randomize all my passwords.
Yeah, and thank you for answering that question about the two-factor. That was going to be my next question. Literally not trying to steal the questions here, but yeah, that was like the next thing I was worrying about because um, even outside of work, just on my personal computer, I feel like I've seen more and more two-factor um, to like do this as well. So is that going to be more common? Like you said, it's not something, Joshua, that you love to do, but I know when you said that, I almost fell out of my seat. But but it is something that we should be doing to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I hate it because it's another step, right? And
Yeah.
nothing is worse than sitting down on your computer about to do something and go, crap, I left my phone in the other room. Now I got to go run and grab it for the 2FA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, it is a great step. The only thing better would be like a UB key or some kind of authentication that way. But then you've got a USB key that you're carrying around and you're trying to remember where the heck that thing is all the time.
Yeah.
But uh, quantum computers are coming, guys. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how difficult your password is, they'll crack it fast. So we've got to be ahead of that trend and start thinking outside the box with things like 2FA.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of computers nowadays are giving you the option to use fingerprint two-factor authentication built into the computer itself. So that makes things a little easy, though you have to have your computer with you when you access these things.
Very true. Very true. And again, just want to say thank you all for answering these questions, even though some of them were mine. I'm sorry. I just had to know some personal things. I'm like, wait a minute, should I be doing this? Um, but when taking time out of y'all's busy day to speak with everyone, letting us know the best way that we could protect our website, but also just everything that we had as password protected. Just really want to say thank you for your time. I know, Gail, right? Very helpful. Like, this is what I needed today. Like, I had practiced we did a dry run last week, and I was paying attention. I even said, I was like, I'm learning some things. And even today, I'm like, I have some questions. I want to know this. So thank you all so much, one, for attending today's webinar, but also let's give it up for our guest speaker and also everyone that helped him out in the chat box, coming online on camera. Josh, thank you so much for answering these questions. Yes. No, Tammy, you're good. We will have a recording of this webinar, and we'll also be sending one out. Just be on the lookout for it as well. It'll be on our YouTube page, and we'll also be sharing this out through social. No, thank you. And again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. We will have this, it is recording. We will be sending this out. And I hope you all have a great Tuesday, almost said Wednesday, trying to push a day ahead. And just have a great rest of your week. And thank you, everyone.